I want to talk about what was happening on the flotilla. Many aboard were part of a group called the Free Gaza Movement, the pro-Palestinian international human rights organization. Much of their work centers around bringing aid to the Gaza Strip and bringing attention and awareness to the Israeli blockade there. Adam Shapiro is on the board of Free Gaza. His wife is the co-founder and was on one of the vessels during the attack. Hey there, Adam. I want to know what you've heard, first of all, from your wife about what happened to her and what she witnessed at the outset of this attack.
My wife was released from an Israeli jail about 7 hours ago, and I spoke to her, and she told me what happened on her ship when it was boarded by Israeli commandos. People on her ship offered no resistance. However, they were filming and with cameras, and people were punched and subdued with physical force by the Israeli soldiers. They then, of course, wrapped their wrists in plastic cuffs, and then they were taken to prison, to the detention center. In the detention center, my wife was also punched and hit there. And then when she was being released, an Israeli police officer taking her out of the prison elbowed her in the face as she was, being let out of the jail. So, there was a lot of physical force used against the passengers, even besides the, of course, lethal force that was used on board the Nevi Marmara, the Turkish ship.
Certainly bringing aid to the people in Gaza, one of the principal goals of this mission. But it was also to stand up to the Israeli naval blockade. What is your reaction to those who say that the activists here came in looking for a fight?
We did not come in looking for a fight. We came in looking to get the goods, the humanitarian assistance to Gaza, and to break the siege. If part of breaking the siege means being stopped by the Israeli army and showing to the world what the siege is and what this blockade is and what it means to have a policy of collective punishment on 1.5 million people, then that is what we are doing. We have had governments, we have had the United Nations, we have had even President Obama call for lifting of the blockade on Gaza and the allowance of the delivery of humanitarian aids and reconstruction material to the Gaza Strip, to the Palestinians in Gaza. And yet not a single government has taken action. And so it is up to us as civil society, as the real international community, the people of the international community, to take action and to expose Israel's policies to the world and to also try to break the blockade on our own. I wish that there didn't have to be a free Gaza. I wish there was no blockade in the first place. Or if there is a blockade, I wish there would be a single government in the world that would send one cargo ship of its own cargo ship of a government with humanitarian aid to Gaza. I would be sure then that the blockade would not last any longer.
Adam, the pictures we're seeing here and the reports we're hearing differ greatly based on where they're coming from. Certainly the Turkish Prime Minister is calling this, quote, a bloody massacre and blaming Israel. But the Israel Defense Forces saying they were provoked by violent activists holding pistols. Tell me your reaction to these very different stories coming from this same incident.
Well, we had live streaming video from the ship, satellite fed, online, on Al Jazeera, on Press TV, on Turkish television stations. And from the beginning, the reports were, and as was documented by the video, that Israeli commandos boarded the ships firing live ammunition at the passengers. By the time the people picked up any kind of sticks or iron bars to defend themselves, there was already at least one person dead on board and quite a number injured. And, the Israelis expect that they can launch a commando raid with over 1,000 of their elite trained soldiers with Navy ships and helicopters and airplanes all around and board the ships and take over the ships and use lethal force and not expect people to try to defend themselves and protect themselves. I mean, this is ridiculous. There's no evidence whatsoever of any kind of weapons being on board. And I would just suggest that if the Israelis did actually find any weapons on the ships, there would be press conferences held at the port. All of the world's media would be there to show and to expose this. However, we see no documentation, no evidence whatsoever. All of our cargo, all of our ships were inspected at ports in Europe and in Turkey up to the highest degree of inspection, and they were certified that there was no weapons on board, that the cargo was legitimate, and everything was up to speed.
Now, you said yourself, in addition to bringing this aid into the Gaza Strip, that one of the primary goals here was to break the siege. I'm curious what you thought was going to happen, what you thought the reaction was going to be by the Israeli special forces here. in terms of these vessels coming through?
We've sent 9 missions. This was our 9th mission. The first 5 of our missions arrived in the Gaza port unimpeded. So we've had the experience of sending ships with humanitarian aid and arriving in Gaza to break the blockade. We've also had the experience of one of our ships being rammed by an Israeli naval warship and being damaged. We've had the experience of the Israeli Navy almost capsizing one of our ships. And we've had the experience, and I was on board, when the Israelis captured one of our ships and detained us for 10 days. This is a new phenomenon where the Israelis are using lethal force. So clearly there's an escalation. Clearly there's an escalation on their part to use violence against foreigners who are daring to stand up to Israel's policies of occupation and brutality. We're seeing that throughout the West Bank. Just yesterday, an American New Yorker girl was shot in the face with a tear gas canister at close range, and she's lost her left eye now. We've had Rachel Corrie bulldozed to death in Gaza. We've had Tom Herndal shot in the head and killed in Gaza. There is a war Israel has launched not only on Palestinian civilians, but also on foreign civilians who dare to stand up and question Israel's policies.
I want to talk about the bigger picture here. You and your wife, both American, from what I understand. You see day in and day out much of the public opinion around the country, and many would argue that the public opinion is pro-Israel. I want to know from you, maybe just to guess about the future, what effect you think Monday's attack will have, if any, on shaping or changing public opinion?
I think public opinion actually started to change when Israel launched the Operation Cast Lead last year. I think public opinion in the United States really shifted quite considerably at that point and saw exposed Israel's, killing of 1,400 mostly civilians in Gaza and destroying most of the Gaza Strip. And I think that this attack on Monday fits into that kind of picture, that narrative that's now becoming clearer and clearer in the United States. I think increasingly public opinion is shifting. We're seeing, even among the American Jewish community, a rise in participation of groups who are questioning Israel's policies, who are challenging Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories. And we're seeing increasingly a boycott of Israel, both a consumer boycott as well as internationally renowned artists stepping up and boycotting cultural participation with Israel. So I think we're starting to see a change, and I think that this attack, Israel really overstepped and will only promote this kind of change in American public opinion.
Just very quick, Adam, any idea when you will be reunited with your wife?
I hope very soon, but we are, as Free Gaza, planning a new strategy for how to follow up this mission, and so she, it might be some time still. She might yet go on more ships that we are trying to organize to encourage another flotilla to try to challenge the blockade once again.
All right, Adam Shapiro with Free Gaza. Appreciate your weighing in.